Let's speak to Elly Jackson, who performs as Roux, performer Amanda Palmer, who has literally just come off stage in this costume and rushed here to be with us, and music writer Laura Barton from The Guardian. Good evening. Amanda, tell us about your evening tonight. So who's in the audience? Who's in the audience? Men or women or mixed?
My audience is all over the place. It probably skews towards the female, but there's also a lot of guys. And it's so bizarre being here. I literally just got off stage at Union Chapel, and
had you in a car.
I was on stage 15 minutes ago. But yeah, I mean, my shows are always different. And funny enough, when I play festivals, I feel much more comfortable when I've got my band with me, because festivals are not like playing in a church or in a club or in a bar where you can actually take control of the audience. You're an advertisement for yourself and for your band.
Have you headlined in any festival? A small one, medium-sized one, big one?
I've probably headlined some small, very arty festivals, but never a huge, never a huge UK festival. No.
Elly Jackson, how about you? Have you headlined anything, or do you find you're always invited to be there, but not just in the prime spot?
I have headlined smaller festivals in Europe, say, but same as Amanda Palmer, I think it's difficult, certainly at the stage that I am in my career, to actually headline. I certainly wouldn't think that I would be able to headline, and I think that's kind of a stature thing as opposed to a feminine or male thing, for me personally. But I think that is an issue as well, with kind of the fact that if you do look at what they need for a headline act at say Glastonbury, you need an act with a great deal of stature, and I think it's becoming harder and harder for artists to reach that level of stature. If you look at current active artists, that they might be very popular, they might sell a lot of records, but whether or not they have the stature to actually play that, as I don't, I feel, is another question.
But it does mean they sometimes, Laura Barton, go for tried and tested old names, like The Who at Glastonbury. It's not exactly new music, is it?
It's not. Although we should say that Fleetwood Mac, the sole act with two women in it, are headlining.
Right. But look, is there a problem? Is there an issue here? Because we were looking down programmes, and it really did seem like more male than the charts.
Yeah, it's not just the headline acts either, it's across the board. Last year, 70% of performers at festivals were male. But I think it's part of a broader problem with women in the music industry, whether they're musicians or fans or music writers. They're not allowed to be headliners or authorities or experts in their craft in the same way that men are.
You're nodding very furiously, Amanda.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, we can discuss festivals, but I mean, festivals are just one teeny sliver of this giant thing that is, the music business game and the music industry and how things work. And there's a very vicious cycle. And I mean, the last time that I played a UK festival, it was Glastonbury 2 years ago. And as a perfect example, the biggest coverage I got was an article in the Daily Mail, not about my songwriting or my band or the fact that we did a fantastic festival slot. The article was about the fact that my breast had fallen out of my bra while I was playing on stage.
And that's a good story, though. That is a story. That is a story, isn't it?
Not really, though, because it wasn't a thing at the festival. Actually, at the festival, no one noticed. It was like, oh shit, my boob fell out. I'm putting it back, and here we are, and everyone is singing, and there we are doing our craft. And all of the ink in the article was about this, and how embarrassed Amanda Palmer must have been.
Let me ask.
And that doesn't happen to guys. And so it's a rigged game.
Is it so? Look, just each of you, and then I'll put it to Elly. Is there institutionalised sexism in the music industry?
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Elly, do you feel that as well?
Of course I do. Yeah, I think it's more complicated than that, though. I think the way women are kind of slightly pushed into a more pop direction than men. I also think that's an issue. And then I think you've got another issue of the fact that festivals traditionally have drawn from, say, a more, I guess what you'd call, without wanting to term it too much, a more kind of alternative style of music, or rock or whatever, that's been generally dominated by men. And I think that's a bigger question as well of, well, why aren't there more women wanting to fulfill that particular kind of role? Why aren't there more women that want to be the kind of band that would play at Reading and Leeds Festival?
Okay, well, that's simple. Laura, do you feel that there's any difference in the music? Are the men playing more raucous music or more anthemic music that maybe makes a good headline act, or not?
I certainly think that, well, there are exceptions to that, but I certainly think that when women are allowed to headline, it's on a Sunday night and it's pop-driven, or it's slightly weird folk, a bit of Joanna Newsom or someone like that. Those are the spaces they're allowed to fill. But I think as a culture, we're not at ease with women being rough and tumble, possibly even playing outside to big audiences. We like them inside and safe.
So there's a difference between the perception of
that's
where...
it.
Oh, go on, Elly.
Sorry, I find that really hard to actually believe, because I don't know, I don't see that. I find that really hard. I think that I don't think it's that simple.
Well, I think I'm sort of in the middle there, because it is like in the scope of the female artists that you have to pick from. If you were going to pick a headlining act, how many of them are the like hard driving, like you can actually clap along and sing with every song, and there is just less to pick from, and whether or not that's because.
Go on, Elly. Very briefly, Elly.
Do you think that's maybe because the women are, because they're slightly more pushed in a pop direction, that they're not developed as hard and don't therefore aren't given the opportunity to have as long-term longevity respect careers? Maybe that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, it could be.
Do you feel that pushed in the pop direction?
They are, and also they've got to be in a situation where they can change clothes.
Our researcher Sam, Sam did do some work. I mean, 60% of the number ones in the charts have been men rather than... Now that, maybe they're just more male act. I mean, is that possible, Laura?
I think there have been, but there have been peaks and troughs where we've had loads of female singer-songwriters for a while. Now we've got another resurgence of male singer-songwriters.